All right, let's look at functions. And first, let's look at where we can call a pre-built-in function. So if I wanted to just get a random number, I'm pretty sure random is built in here. I can use, should be able to use the call statement. No, that's not going to do it. Should be able to use the assign statement if I'm remembering right. So if I wanted to get a random number, I could do X, and I gotta do the, set that one up above there. I don't need an equal sign there because it's built in. And they called it random, so we'll go with random, see if that works. And use 1 as the seed value. Click OK. Declare X. Declare it as a real. Now if I run it, I forgot to print it out. So if I put a print here to print X, I should get a random value.
What is this one? Is this the one in the book that we're supposed to be doing?
What?
Is that the one that we're supposed to be doing?
No, it's not your assignment,
This one?
because I'm not going to give you your assignment. There we go. Okay, so if I go to get just a random number. Because they had you do some other stuff with the 2 assignments. Because the one that you use the random on, you're going to get 2 random numbers and add them together. But if I want to get it used with a built-in function, so I'm building a built-in function. All I want to do is get a random number here. The seed value is going to give me the range of random numbers I could get. The bigger number is, the more variety of it. So I'm going to declare X as real, and then I'm calling the random function, which is built in for logarithm. So I've got X is equal to random parentheses 100 close parentheses. What that's saying is call the random function using the seed of 100, which says return a value between 0 and 100. Everybody got that? So it's going to give me, if I put 7 there, it return it between 0 and 7. Now I'm not sure in logarithm if we can put both numbers there like they do in the book, where they've told at the beginning and the ending of the sequence on it. But most of your languages are going to work off just the upper number and go from 0 to there. So when I run this, then I told it to output the value of X. X is going to call the random function. So this first time I ran it, I got an answer of what back?
43.
43. Remember that for a moment. Now if I run it again, what do I get for the answer?
3.
3. So it is a random number, right? It's just going out and picking a number at random for us. So that will allow us to generate random numbers, calling a built-in function. Everybody follow that one? So it's using built-in functions. There are other built-in functions also. The random one is the one you're going to use on your assignment. And it's the one the book talks to you about. But there are other built-in functions for you to generate other type things also. But the one that the book just teaches you about is random. That they're just teaching you the built-in random function. So be aware there are other functions and that you can use that name on it. And actually you can use them for a number of things. There's an integer function out there, so if you've got a real number and you want to convert it to integer, there's actually an integer function out there for that called int. And that if you put a real number in its inside the parentheses, the value it returns is an integer, which means it just dropped off everything after the decimal point. But there's a function to do that. There's a function to do lots of other stuff out there for you. But for this course, it's the random one. The book called it random, and it worked random and logarithm, luckily also. However, depending on the language you're using, it may not be RAMDOM. It may be RND is what I've seen it in some languages. That's what I've seen more often is RND rather than random. So if you go to find the random function, every language is going to have a random function built in. Okay. Now, just as a side note on the random function, it's not 100% random. It's actually pulling them out of a table type approach on it. Okay. And so there's not complete randomness to it. So I would not want to go take a job with the lottery and build the lottery results based on the random number generator. You follow on that? You want to build some other fancy calculations around it to make it into purely random on what it's picking there. Okay? So actually what you want to do is play with that seed randoming it along with randoming the number. Okay? Because otherwise you would not end up with a totally random number. It's fairly random. Okay? But if it's something that's critical important on the randomness, like lottery numbers, then you would not want to do using the random function to do it. You would want to write your own specific approach to do the thing. And if you think about it, lottery doesn't use the computer to generate the numbers anyway. What do? They got ping pong balls that come out of the little thing that gives the numbers, okay?
The only thing I know that does RNG is casinos, the slot machine. They do random number, get RNG, random number generated. Because you can, like, every different casinos can put the probability up.
And so you can, and see, that's what I'm saying on the random number generator. Just be aware you could, if you're using it, and so if we knew what was their seed they were using on a machine, it would increase our chances of winning on it, okay? But if you then randomness the seed to it, you can do all kinds of weird things to it to get it to where it's almost totally random, okay? But it's not a full thing. And that's just an alertness to y'all on it. That's not covered in the book to it about it, but for most purposes, the random number generator works well for it. If you're just trying to use something to come up with guesses on things and such, or like on y'all's assignment where it's supposed to be two numbers randomly generated to add together, and then for the person to put their guess in of what they add together to be, it works perfectly fine for that. Okay? It doesn't have to be 100% random, 98% random is perfectly fine. So that's one thing. Second thing is writing your own functions. Y'all have actually done that. You did that back in chapter 3 when you did modules. Because on Flogorithm, if you're doing it in Flogorithm, you're actually doing functions, not modules, although they're calling it modules. They're really doing functions. They just return one value, which is what a function is going to return. The modules, you could pass a number of values to it, and you can return a number of values from it. And y'all remember in chapter 3, I told you you were going to write the program, you were going to design the program in Flogorithm, but it was not going to work because Flogorithm really does not work with modules, even though they called it modules. Okay? It's doing functions. Functions are specialized modules. That's the only difference. Okay? Is that they're a specialized type of module. So, in fact, you already know how to do modules. You know how to do functions. Okay? Functions only return one value, just like this function right here. We said some variable, x, equals, and the function name. Now, you can pass a number of values to the function, which Flogorithm let you do. Your assignment in 3 was you had to return several values also. A regular module, you can return multiple values. Okay? You can pass certain values and you can return. You can actually return some of the ones you passed with new values to it. But you can return. In this case, we passed it one value. We could have passed it 2. I'm not sure if Flogorithm will let us do 2. There are examples in the book are where they do 2. Let's do 2. Let's see if it works with 2. It should. But I don't know if they're the question is whether their random generator will let us do 2. Other functions will let us do 2, ones that we do ourselves. So it's happy so far, and it's not happy because a random function requires one argument. So if this had been a function we wrote, that'd be fine. But random's a built-in one that only uses one argument in Flogorithm. And in a number of the languages out there, that's all it's going to use. I know in BASIC and in Fortran it only used one argument. I'm guessing, since the book was using 2 arguments and stuff, probably Java uses 2 arguments. Okay? Because the book has more of a Java flavor to it. But we can pass how many ever arguments is built in the function to it. Okay? And you got to match them, just like we did back in chapter 3. It will return one value. And the last statement in the function will be return, not end, return. Y'all follow on that? And actually on the return, you will also tell it what to return. You'll tell it what value are you returning to the calling statement. So you got the function here, you've got, we'll call it DW, with a number. Calls over to the function DW, and so this says x equals that. We did some stuff down in here and we get to a return at the bottom. Somewhere up in here we define some variable that we're going to return. So we're going to return g. Somewhere up here we've defined g is equal to 3. it will return the value of G here. G will return and get put in the value of X over here. Does everybody follow that? 101 got carried over here. And actually I left it off here. And we got parentheses and a variable there. V assumed the value of 101. We ran the function. G was assigned to 3 somewhere down here. Here it says return G, so 3 is returned to the variable on the statement. Okay? Now if it had been a calculation and this had been sitting out in the calculation, what it actually returns it to is right here. And there, and then it does the calculation around on whatever's the return value. So, let's set a similar one up right here. Whoops. We'll change this from being random to, this is now the function DW. So we'll do the same one I just did on the board. And we're going to pass over the value of 5. Now, if I go up here where it says main currently, I'm going to change to over there beside it. I'm going to click the plus sign where it says add function. What's my function name?
Function name, wouldn't it be
What have I got up here? DW.
DW.
So that's my function name. I'm passing one value over to it, so there's only one parameter. So I'm going to hit add to add a parameter, and I'm passing this one value over here. Variable names in the function, remember, are not linked to variable names within the main routine. They're separate things. So it can be totally different stuff. So I'm going to call it W. Okay? And it's going to be an integer number I'm going to pass across. So I'll click OK because it goes ahead and declares it there in the midst of this. The return value type is that I'm going to return, in this case, an integer, which is going to be the variable G. So I'll click OK. And now here, notice what it's done. Whoops. Let's take that away because I just hid stuff. We are now in the DW function. It's declared the DW function, and it said it's got an integer variable value coming in that it goes into W. At the end it says I'm going to return an integer that's the value of whatever G is that I generate within this function. So now let's set up a statement in there that we're going to set G. I'm going to do well, first thing I got to do is I got to declare G, which is integer. So even though it says it's integer down at the bottom, I still got to do this here. Then I'm going to assign in this case G equal 2 times W. So I'm just pulling stuff out here. So now G is going to take the value of 2 times W and it's going to return the value of G. And it brought over W. So if I go back to main, W was 5, so this thing should return when it outputs, I should get 10, right? Because in the main routine, X is equal to whatever the function DW returns for the value 5 passed to it. If we go into the function says take that value that was passed to it, that was 5, and multiply it by 2, and put that in G and then return G. So I should get 10 back. So when I run this one, I should get 10. Did I?
Yep.
I got 10, right? So it worked. Because the program here did not put 10 on it. It was using the function to generate it. Now see where we did the work in the function? So we passed a value, which could be multiple values. Let's pass it 2 values. We'll pass it the number, instead of multiplying by 2, we'll pass it another value to multiply by. So I'm going to come back to here, and I'm going to pass it 5 and 6. Okay? Click OK. Let's pay attention. If I go over there to the function, I'm now going to bring in 2 values. So I'm going to add another one. So this one's going to be A. It's integer also. So we're going to bring in W and A, which happens to be 5 and 6 is what's going to get passed across. We're still going to return G, so that's okay. We're going to change this statement from 2 times W to A times W. Click OK. And now we'll run the program, and we got 30. So it doesn't care which module, whether the function's showing up here or the main routine showing, it's going to run the main routine, which calls the function. Main routine said pass 2 values over there, which was 5 and 6. The function said bring in the 5 and 6 as A and W. It then said multiply 5 times 6, which gives you 30. Put it in G, return G. G became X over in the main routine. G became X there, and so then that meant 30 got returned, X became the value of 30, and we outputted 30. Y'all see how to write your own function with 1 or 2 parameters on it, and you could write any number of parameters you want on there that you can pass to the function. But how many values comes back from the function? 1. Good thought. So a function can only return 1 value. But you can pass a number of values to the function, depending on how many values you've got the function set up to have passed to it, and then call statement has to have the same. And that is not a separate modules, you actually used a call statement, because you said call whatever was the module. For functions is built into your arithmetic statement, into your assign statement. Questions on that?
Is it the ones that we're going to be doing is the program exercise? From chapter 10, program exercise? That's the ones that we're doing? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 through 3 a minute?
But we were just talking about chapter 6.
Oh, that was chapter 6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need chapter 10 yet if we're on chapter 6. Let's see. Because I'm going to have to ask you a question on chapter 6.
You are doing 1, 2, and 3, and 10. All right. Now, questions on functions? Any questions about how to use a built-in function? Random's the one the book teaches you about? Or how to build your own functions? I've shown you both on there. We went through Fogarrhythm doing both of them.